Tarkov and its world is a dark place. People constantly at each other's throats, fighting to either stay alive or to appease those above them. It makes sense then, within the context of the world and the circumstances surrounding everything going on, that some of the gameplay would reflect that pain and misery. Tarkov at the start, if you're new, is easily one of the hardest games to get into, learn, and truly understand. Some would even go so far as to call the process, even after potentially hundreds of hours, miserable. But that's a good question to ask. Is this game truly miserable, both to play and to just experience? Was it always intended to be this way? It's kind of a loaded question with a somewhat nuanced answer, so let's take a crack at answering it and see what about Tarkov would make people see it as being a miserable experience, and how many have still managed to find the fun and excitement despite everything in the game trying to prevent you from finding it sometimes. Before we look at Tarkov and whether it's miserable or not, we should first look at the definition of miserable and see how much of it applies directly to EFT, both in the universe and in the gameplay. The definition of miserable is wretchedly unhappy or uncomfortable, which makes sense, but if we want to go even a layer deeper, the definition of wretchedly means to do something in a miserable, poor, or contemptible manner, which, again, within the context of the game as a whole, makes complete sense. Your PMC is almost assuredly both unhappy and uncomfortable with the circumstances he's found himself in, stuck in an isolated area with no contact from the outside world, with the sole purpose of trying to survive and get back home. All the while, the locals, other military groups, and even cultists are running around trying to take you out. It makes perfect sense that within the context and world of Tarkov, there isn't much joy or happiness to be had. That's the easy half of this conversation. The other half, involving the player, is much different. Everyone who has played this game knows it's hard. Hard in the sense that there is what feels like an insurmountable amount of knowledge you need to accrue in order to feel like you understand even just the basics of the game. Maps, extraction points, weapons, ammos, boss spawns, locations, the list goes way beyond just these. It's the equivalent of trying to learn all the character abilities in something like a MOBA. Hundreds, if not thousands of abilities, passives, and item combinations. It's one of those moments where you feel like there's no way the game expects you to not only learn all this stuff, but have dying to it as part of the learning process, right? That alone is enough to push some people away from ever even trying. Thankfully, the new tutorial in 1.0 in Tarkov does a relatively solid job of throwing you straight into the game, quickly acclimating you to the situation and to think on your feet and what to look out for. Whereas before it was so much just trial and error figuring things out unless you had a friend helping you because the game never explained anything about it to the player. And while there is certainly some charm in older versions of the game just flying by the seat of your pants, the game has so much more content and has been optimized to such a degree in terms of playing it that you need to help the new players. Otherwise, they might find the experience truly miserable. Jokes aside, there was a point in time when Nikita, in interviews, said that this game was never meant to be fun. Now, the specific definition of fun he used in this context, we don't know. However, we can try and extrapolate what he meant. Fun in the sense of the game being jovial and lighthearted, something that anyone can pick up and play, an experience akin to something like a family-oriented game. Again, we'll never know for sure, but at least my own personal interpretation of his definition of fun is something that you don't just experience, you almost live through it. And Tarkov does have moments that feel immersive, whether it's the weather creating a specific mood or atmosphere, working through a map and not really seeing other players, or getting your stuff kicked in again and again. Tarkov is as much of a don't tilt kind of experience as any other. It's unlike many other games out there, even ones in the same genre. When you kind of just go through the motions and every once in a while something happens that might be kind of cool or get you out of the monotony of the gameplay, but nothing like Tarkov that is always trying to almost get you. Something that you really need to pay attention, because if you don't, you might miss that other player in the corner just watching you, waiting to take their shot. And for years, this game was niche, something you really only heard about through word of mouth. And most people that mentioned it always defaulted to saying it's insanely difficult. And because there was a sheer lack of information about the game, that was very much true. But does that statement still hold up for after the release of the game? Yes, of course it does. People are going to find things about Tarkov to be difficult. Someone might have great aim, but struggle when it comes to tackling multiple people at once. They might enjoy playing as a scav because it's a little more laid back, but are terrified of playing as their PMC. At least now, there is an abundance of information about the weapons, the quests, and everything you might need to understand in order to be successful. And despite everything, all the hardships, losing gear sets, quest items, and anything else that would make you beyond upset, players still manage to find the fun in Tarkov, even if the creator himself maybe never wanted you to. Even with a lack of tutorial or any in-game information explaining how the systems work, people managed to slog their way through the first hours of Tarkov just taking it all in. It was so different and such a shock to the system that people were more curious about what lies deeper in Tarkov than anything else. Even if they failed 100 times, there was something about the game that would just sink its teeth into you. And before you knew it, slowly but surely, you improved. You understand how to tell between an AI enemy and a player. Your movement gets better, your aim gets better. You begin to feel more confident taking better gear into raids. And at this point, you're pretty much addicted to the game and just want to play as much as possible. People for years have gone through this series of events. Even if the game isn't conventionally fun, even if the game does everything it can to basically push you away, people craved more. One more raid, one more scav run, whatever it might be. Whether or not Tarkov was designed to be miserable at this point, well, it doesn't matter. People are playing for a multitude of reasons. And now that we have PvE, for those who want to experience the game under slightly more relaxed circumstances, even that can be a wild ride for someone jumping into the game for the first time. It took a long time, but tons of people now have found the fun in the game, one way or another. One playstyle or reason, it doesn't matter. If you play Tarkov and can enjoy yourself, that's all that truly matters. It means those hours of playtime, years of wipes, and patient waiting to see the game release was worth it. And now all we can hope for is that the game continues to improve and what new content updates they plan to add in the future. Tarkov was never meant to be fun, in the traditional, more conventional definition. It rode a tightrope between a difficult first-person shooter and an immersive hardcore experience that was something you wanted to tell your friends about. EFT may never have been designed with fun as the forefront, but just the existence of the game and how far it went against the grain was enough to entice people into the ecosystem. And once they were in, if they didn't immediately bounce off, they would most likely fall in, sinking scores of hours into the game and finding not only their reasons and motivations to keep playing, but also accidentally finding the one thing the creator never intended us to find: the fun. When everything is working and you have a crazy raid experience, there is no other video game high out there like Tarkov. It just makes you astounded at how difficult but rewarding something can be. And even when you lose 100 times, even when you want to quit, all it takes is one more ridiculous raid to make it all feel better. We've said it before, but Tarkov giveth, and Tarkov also taketh, and no other game really does it like EFT. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts on whether Tarkov is a truly miserable experience, both in terms of the game, but also the lore, how you found the fun inside EFT, and be sure to subscribe for more videos about the game we love to hate, but also love it for what it does to our brains when everything works out. Hope to see you in future ones.